You're listening to Hayes Radio Network, Cannabis Lifestyle Radio.
Business of Cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services, CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www.cashtechcurrency.com to learn more.
You're listening to Hayes Radio Network, Cannabis Lifestyle Radio.
This is the business of cannabis.
The use of cannabis.
And welcome to the business of cannabis. Dave Sky here with Matt Cook, as always, as we take another deep dive into this most fascinating of industries, changing industry, the cannabis revolution that we're all involved in. An industry, it strikes me, that was born seemingly overnight, it seems, and on the other hand, feels like it's been around for a long time as it moves from state to state, often at a snail's pace, and then suddenly lightning fast. A uniqueness also, I think, that comes from its origins, this banned plant, villainized, criminalized, now legalized, but not everywhere. So there's hypocrisy, there's overregulation, there's underregulation, all of which is shaping this business of cannabis. Fancy words are being bandied about, like brand, that we didn't hear some years ago, as well-dressed Wall Street lawyers are entering, and accountants, and we cover all that in this show. And I think we're going to delve into an aspect of this revolution as it moves to a new phase. We're going to be talking to Emery Morrison, who is with CampNova. They have provided a platform for celebrity brands. So obviously the first question I ask is, who qualifies as a celebrity? But it's interesting. I'm fascinated by this because celebrities can do things we can't. How has that played itself out in the cannabis space? Does it boil down to how well your last recording did, or how your show is doing, or and so that'll be an interesting talk. And then we're going to talk to Jesus Burolla from the POSIBL project. This is a California-based grower, a part of the smart agricultural revolution, and by that, this is bringing the most advanced agricultural growing techniques, equipment, and so on into the cannabis space. This is not necessarily a new thing, but it's certainly gaining a lot of steam. And the POSIBL project grows cannabis mostly for other brands, for other companies. So that's part of that whole shift towards brand. How is that developing? And what role is California, because they're based in California, what role does Cali have versus what's happening in other states? So lots to talk about. Deep dive again into this super important movement that we're seeing in cannabis, away from some of the early practices, as other players are starting to notice it, but more than notice it, get involved. Are they taking over? Well, that and much more. Dave Sky here with Matt Cook, and this is the business of welcome to the business of cannabis. I'd like to welcome to the show Emery Morrison of CampNova. Emery's been in the marketing and influencer space for many years, now focusing on cannabis. And he definitely has a more interesting job than I do because he's the co-founder and chief marketing officer of CampNova, which is an online platform offering influencer and celebrity cannabis brands to the California market. So he's meeting some pretty cool people, I assume. We're talking Tommy Chong and Santana and Gwyneth Paltrow, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, who I think has too much money, so I don't think I should mention him. Lil Kim's coming out with her own brand. It's a long list of A-listers. So let's chat about them and another A-lister in his own right. Emery Morrison, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you having me today.
So let's jump into this idea, which is very cool. When did you get it and when did it launch? And tell us a bit about that.
So the idea came from necessity, in a sense, is CampNova is Uber Eats meets Amazon, meets Fashion Nova, meets Weed Maps.
Right.
And one of the issues in the cannabis space is platforms and companies that have retail or brands or delivery controlling their own destiny. So when we got in the space, we saw that it was only dominated by a couple of platforms for you to do marketing on. So with that monopoly, we were like, okay, we got to come up with something and control our relationship with the customers, because if you fall out with one platform that does all the marketing, you lose your customers.
Sure, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be innovative. So we were actually working on a project, me and my partner Marvin, on a phone project. It was a lifestyle phone project. It was basically the phone project of CampNova. And so I was thinking, I was like, hey, Marv, why don't we take this idea, move it over here, and execute on it in this vertical? And that's where it first came, the word CampNova. I texted to him and one of my other partners and said, this is it. We control our own platform, not just this platform, but other platforms that we're building as well, so that we can control that communication. Now, this was 2.5, 3 years ago. Now it's become more important because as AT&T, as Sprint, as Google, as Apple come out and they start restricting communication on third-party data, it becomes more important that you control your relationship with your customer. So that's how it came.
Yeah. And 2.5 years ago sounds like a million years ago. It's like another century.
What
are you talking about? There was no 2.5 years ago.
No, it was
especially in cannabis. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. So let me jump to, okay, so it's such a cool concept to me. How do you choose, or how do you decide which celebrities you wish to represent, have on your platform? Do you involve yourself in issues of quality?
Yes.
I thought personal views of the celebrities might be, because it's not just the brand is the person on some level.
Absolutely.
So how does that work?
So first of all, as a company and your business model is based on high profile celebrities, profile brands, you have to make sure that you follow your business model. So whether or not someone may have different views than you, if they're in the cannabis space and they're a high profile celebrity, they should be on the platform. There's a number of reasons why they won't be on the platform. Sometimes some celebrities have exclusives with other companies for a while as they launch, and that's okay. That's their business model. And sometimes their teams are not strong. And they're not aggressive with going out there, getting their brand out there as much as possible. And sometimes it's hard to communicate. Celebrities that we pick, this is a great question because it goes in multiple angles. Some brands we handle from seed to sell.
Oh, okay.
Some brands, their managers, their distributor, or their partners will contact us and say, we need help over here in regards to helping us market, helping us go to the region that you're delivering in, helping us go to master this business of cannabis. sometimes people have access to money to do a deal with a celebrity, but they don't have the execution in their team to actually make it successful after they do the deal. So sometimes they come to us for that. That's one
Right.
area right there. So there's a multiple ways of doing it. Sometimes it could be somebody's celebrity friend that we know personally, and they contact us and say, hey man, I'm looking to expand in this space. I've been using cannabis for years. I'm not afraid of it. How do we do a deal? And we handle that deal. Sometimes there's companies like entertainment management companies like Green Street, who represent multiple celebrities that come to us with the 2 Chainz project, and we do a 3-way deal for Gas by 2 Chainz with Green Street and Gary V, and we bring that to our direct-to-consumer platform. Then sometimes, as in the announcement with Little Kim, we partner with Superbad and Carlos Du and his team to start that brand from the beginning to the end in concept, and working with the Queen Bee on delivering a high quality cannabis brand. So you have to be flexible, and you got to just, maneuver the opportunities.
Now, I don't want to pump your tires too much, but I'm loving this concept. I really am, because as I'm hearing you talking, I'm thinking of all the marketing opportunities
Yes.
that would be available to these people and to you, to CampNova, that wouldn't be available to other people.
Yes.
So talk about that. What are the, and maybe that's a bit of visioning, like what, in a year or two.
Well,
where do you see it going? Because
Yeah.
it could be tied into concerts and touring and events and a whole series of things that couldn't be for just a regular brand.
Absolutely.
Or
so
a dispensary chain.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a number of ways you can do this. One, you have your company in stores, and sometimes celebrities just do an in store, and there's no pre-marketing and there's no post-marketing. What a CampNova allows you to do is pre-marketing with video and audio.
Awesome. Totally. Yeah.
And post-marketing of showing the experience to fans, not only in the markets you're selling, but other markets that are coming.
Right.
So they get to see that experience and know what to expect from there. That's one thing with an in-store. Also, you can pre-promote a brand, because CampNova, on each profile, like a Carlos Santana, you have a profile picture, you have a video page with multiple videos, you have an audio section, and then you'll have a call to action with products. So it's socializing the process of buying cannabis, and you don't have to worry about your content being taken down or any of this stuff. And so it's all cannabis entertainment, social commerce, lifestyle technology. So that's one piece there. And then there's multiple areas of just creating experiences through events, through live feed. We're building this whole platform as an experience, and to let the customers see the experience with a call to action to purchase product.
Yeah, and I assume your customer is a like anyone, me,
Yeah.
or other dispensaries or other businesses who would like to access this, I'm guessing.
So let me give you the business model. As we roll this out, it's a non-plant touching e-commerce platform in the cannabis space. What happens is the orders come in, customer goes on to whatever celebrity page or high profile cannabis brand, and they buy. That order gets pushed over to one of our delivery partners or retail partners, and then they fulfill that transaction. So what this does is this drives business for our delivery partners, and this drives business for physical retail when we do those partnerships as well. So that is a partner there, yes. And then you can tie that into the celebrity experience around that as well.
Gotcha. So when I open up my chain of cannabis stores, I'm going to reach out to you. I haven't started yet, but I'm okay. Yeah, when I have my 1,000 locations, wow, I reach out and maybe represent some of these brands. And this is California only, right?
So we're currently in California, but it's interesting you asked that question. I literally am flying out to the East Coast in the morning, and we're having strategic partnership meetings with folks from some of the legal states and some of the states that are coming on board
Right.
here in the next 6 months. This is moving so fast that it will be across not only the US, but across the world, depending on what type of product, because you could have a CBD
Right.
product depending on the country where you could ship it into as well.
Right. Okay. Totally. I'm guessing New York might be in your plans at
New
some
York
point.
is in the plans. I mean, if you look at the news, what's going
Not
on
much
with
of a
New York,
market though, but yeah.
yeah, currently New York, you look at the news, there's people who have these mobile delivery services right now before they even go recreational. They're just like, hey, governmental people, get out our way and let us create some revenue and opportunities right now. That's what New York is doing. So obviously, we have to be in New York.
Of the celebrities, and as a professional marketer, take your CampNova hat off, put on your professional marketing hat on. Which of the celebrities, kind of influencer brand, do you see leading the charge right now, doing the right things? Why are they doing well? And maybe that tag-on question: what can non-celebrity offerings learn from that? Learn from
Yeah.
what they're doing well.
So I'll just say this.
I don't know if that's an unfair question.
No, it's not. It's not unfair. Celebrities,
but I like to
that do
ask
well,
unfair questions.
yeah, listen, we're open for everything here. Non-celebrity and celebrities, the celebs that are doing well are the ones that have baked in consumer bases. So I'll name 3 celebrities that sell on our platform: Ice Cube, Jerry Garcia, and Carlos Santana. All different customer bases, all selling product on our platform. And the common denominator is to that so far has been their established relationship and trust from the consumer on what they can deliver. All music based, but then all have cool merch, cool lifestyle in their own lifestyle. A deadhead is different than someone who listens to NWA,
Right.
you know, someone who listens to Carlos Santana. Those are different consumer bases, but they all support those celebrities. Then you have folks that I think will be successful, like Lil Kim, who also has a baked in celebrity base, but she's been groundbreaking on fashion, on
Yeah.
edgy lifestyle. Also, she's groundbreaking on, there's not that many women in this space, and she's leading the way as a woman-owned business, as a Black-owned business. And so she's leading the charge in that. And that's been really exciting with the response from the media about her project.
Let's follow that. One, you make an interesting comment. There aren't many women in the business,
Yeah,
let alone
it's not.
celebrity women. So, do you have any thoughts about why that is? Because it's not for lack of money.
Well, there's lack of opportunity for women, period, in all forms of corporate business. If you look at the numbers on technology and startups, women have a hard time accessing capital and opportunities. It is, let's be honest about this, it's the good old boy space. Even when it comes to,
Right.
Black and brown, it's the good old boy space. And you have to have access to capital, access to opportunities to be able to get the money and execute on your plan. And this goes across not just the cannabis space, but multiple verticals where there's lack of that opportunity. And I think it's moving in a positive direction, not fast enough, but it's at least got a little bit of glimpse of light that we can kind of squeeze through.
We are talking to Emery Morrison of CampNova, which is a online platform offering influencer celebrity cannabis brands now to the California market, but soon across the world, depending on, of course, laws and little things like that. But let's talk about it. It's interesting that what happened. Cannabis is a microcosm, I guess, now for the larger issues facing America.
Yes.
We're seeing it play out here, even among people who you think would be above it all. It's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting for me to hear, no, the same barriers to different disadvantaged communities are playing itself out, even at the celebrity level. Maybe
Yes.
CampNova levels the playing field a little bit.
Well, we definitely will not exclude anyone. Um, you know, some of the numbers that we've seen is it's better in cannabis than it is in other spaces and other verticals, but it's still challenging. Um, we're open-minded at CampNova. And in regards to opportunities, this is a challenge when it comes into even hiring qualified people, in a sense of sometimes you're excluded. When you find good people, you should not look at their race or their name. You should give everybody the right opportunity. It is your job as a leader of a company to bring in the best people for your company to succeed. But it is our job as human beings to never exclude anyone and give everyone a true opportunity. And that's kind of like where we are and where we should be. Now, it's not always like that.
Sure.
Throughout history
That's cool.
of the United States.
No, it's just interesting, at that level, you think, okay, does it play it out? And it's interesting to hear, yeah, it totally plays out. And, obviously it's a journey and there's more. Let me keep on this, because I don't often get a chance to talk to someone with your experience in this area. What mistakes do you see these people making, celebrity brands and people even with a baked in, because that's amazing to have that, but what mistakes do they make? And I think anyone in this business could learn from that as well. So what do you see people not doing well as opposed to what they are doing well?
Okay. So when it comes to celebrity brands, I think the celebrity mistakes usually come from not having the proper management involved. Also putting the wrong people to make business decisions or a communication point for you as a celebrity. You have to make sure that your brand is protected and you build your team correctly with qualified people that can help you execute on your businesses that you want to be involved in. And I think celebrities, sometimes, as they say in the street, are just worried about getting the bag up front and not executing. Because you could have a company that's an MSO say, we're going to sign this big celebrity, and they give that celebrity, a couple $100,000 or $500,000 to do a deal. But then that MSO does not know how to operate with a celebrity. You got to have a team that understands the language and the lifestyle to be able to operate, to get the execution correctly so that product gets into the stores and then to the consumer. That's the mistake that they can make. And this happens in other verticals as well, but this happens in cannabis a lot. You'll see, just like in any businesses, some celebs that are aggressive. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Ice Cube, we've never spoken to Ice Cube personally himself, but we've probably done more marketing.
Well, I speak to him every day, so if you want me to set you up,
Let's get Cube on the phone. But we've seen his aggressiveness in marketing and executing for his Friday Kush brand. So what that tells you is he's on point, his team's on point when they see a company pushing their product and they all pitch in to market it and point to a direction of where it's sold. Just saying, hey, I got a good product. They got a great platform. Let's market together. We don't need to go do some crazy conversation. Let's all execute and fulfill what we're here to do. That's a great example of communication, of how it's done. And then there's some celebs who just got the money in, their name is on the jar or bag, and they've disappeared.
Right. They just assume that's I've done it and now I move on. Yeah. Well, Ice Cube's a good example because he's obviously a very shrewd man, and he's illustrated that over a long career. Yeah. And I would assume, like anything, just because you can, I don't know, sing or dance or whatever your celebrity, or be an influencer, or doesn't mean you can be a successful business person.
No, not at all, because sometimes they don't know how to take what they are as success, which is an anomaly, and convert that over to integrating with products for success. I will want to tackle one subject as well. Is there's a lot of interesting micro influencers. You can have an influencer that's based out of Fresno, California, that can have more of an effect than a Kardashian if you recognize that influencer from that region. And in the cannabis space, what people need to understand is in California, it's regional. A product that sells well in San Jose and Silicon Valley may not sell as well in Stockton or Sacramento. But there could be a micro celebrity in that area that controls a base of 30, 40,000 people that's as powerful or more powerful than a super successful worldwide celebrity. So like with us at CampNova, we're also striking some partnerships with micro influencers in regional areas.
That is very insightful because on this show, it's a major issue is brand versus say brick and mortar dispensary. What's important? What's the most important thing? And right now it's still dispensary dominated to some extent.
Yeah.
Brand is becoming more important, but we're also talking to a lot of very well-positioned local players. And are we in an industry what's going to be dominated by three people, like beer, at some point, or is there something about cannabis that will prevent that from happening? And if I were a small player, those are interesting words. Like you should totally tap into that. No, Jay-Z's not going to represent you, but if you have three dispensaries in a town, why not micro focus and build that loyalty that can't be broken by Jay-Z?
Absolutely, 100%. And by the way, CampNova will execute on that. We can talk to that local, celebrity and facilitate that relationship. And so that will work. I think one of the things is you just hit on a subject of will it become three people? Right now, to be honest, we don't know because the access to capital and the taxes tagged onto this and the slow moving local governments will cause you to go bankrupt. So the only people that can actually weather this a lot of times are people with deep pockets.
Right. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy if things don't change. And you're right. That's a wait and see. And yes. Maybe there's something about cannabis itself. So many interesting, it's an interesting topic, and I'd love to talk more. We're unfortunately out of time, but we're going to have you back because I have about 1,000 more questions. And I want to thank Emery Morrison from CampNova.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, this was great, and we will be right back with more on the business of cannabis. The business of cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services. CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www.cashtechcurrency.com to learn more. And welcome back to the business of cannabis. Dave Sky here with Matt Cook. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we are constantly fascinated by the backgrounds of our guests. And Jesus Burolla, CEO of POSIBL Project, I think fits that bill. So I'll just have to say it again because Jesus has an interesting background. He spent some 15 years in the roofing supply business until June of 2020, and around there, in the midst of it, he decides to get into the space formally. With POSIBL Project, which was initially founded in 2017. POSIBL Project is a licensed cultivator, producer, distributor of cannabis in California. So I won't make the obvious pun about it being possible. And Jesus is living because I'm above that, but I guess you are. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome.
So give us an overview of the POSIBL project and what you guys are about.
Yeah, so we're a grower co-packager based out of Salinas, California, like you said, founded in December 17. So our mission is to offer solutions from everything from genetics to finished product for brands. So that really allows the brands to focus on acquiring customers, growing the brand, and not necessarily on sourcing flower and dealing with supply chain, which is unfortunately where a lot of brands end up having to spend a lot of time that are not vertically integrated. So we are an important cog in the supply chain to try to get brands into market quickly and effectively.
Yeah, that was intriguing to me, this concept of instantly saying, hey, let us take this off your hand. And in most industries, I guess that it's pretty typical,
Well, it's outsourcing. It's outsourcing, right? Stick to your knitting and outsource what you don't do well.
But in cannabis, vertically integrated is a thing, and it's a mantra almost for some people. But it's not very typical that a company will do everything themselves, from manufacturer to distribution to sale. Yet in cannabis, it's not atypical. Take us through some of your thinking as to why you're well positioned versus the other players.
Yeah, so you're right. There is this competing view of vertically integrated versus not vertically integrated. Really, what I find is for the companies looking to become vertically integrated, it's launching 5 businesses at the same time. It's hard enough being a gold cultivator, as well as being a very powerful brand, being a very good co-packager. I mean, those are all being very good at genetics, being very good at distribution. Those are all very hard business in itself. And so when you look at traditional business, that's really not the model. It's not like Coca-Cola goes out and says, hey, we want to make soda. Let's start investing in sugarcane fields and corn syrup fields.
But don't give them the idea, because they'll probably do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, same, Budweiser, et cetera. They don't go out and say, we're going to plant a bunch of barley. So our concept here is that our team has a very long background in traditional agriculture, specifically in a greenhouse setting, and bringing kind of latest technology on ag, and supplying big contracts. So our founder comes from organic greenhouse tomatoes. He supplies a lot of the large chains like Whole Foods and Costco, et cetera. And he knows, those companies certainly have the capital to do it, but they understand what they're good at and where they bring value. And it's not in cultivation. And at the same side, we feel like we bring a lot of value in cultivation with the know-how that we have, the infrastructure, and our design. So that's where we're really looking to focus.
That's great. I mean, and I agree. Some people just don't know to stick to what they're good at. And that's a challenge. You guys have grown a lot and come a long way in a relatively short period of time. Not some, but maybe what was your biggest challenge getting to where you are today?
I mean, I think there's 2 very large challenges in cannabis that probably companies would echo. One would be being in a very uncertain regulatory situation and how fast regulation changes to one side of the pendulum and another, and having to react very quickly to that. So you've got to be very nimble. That also comes with huge time delays. So, something that doesn't take a lot of headaches in traditional business, whether it be banking or whether it be, getting a construction permit in cannabis, that can take years. So, we've been designing a state-of-the-art greenhouse project, and it's, 2 years in the making, getting it pushed through the county and going through all the approval processes. We get analyzed to the level that almost no other business does. So that is a very big challenge. And I think the second one is capital. So you mentioned vertically integrated. That's another one of the challenges. All those businesses take capital to launch, and we're in a industry that doesn't have access to traditional financing. And so how to capitalize the business and what's the strategy behind that is also an important part of it.
Can I
Right.
jump first to the first one? Like, give me an example of the regulatory environment and how it changed, and then how it forced you to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, even today, we're launching construction. There's things like CEQA, which have to do with environmental, and we're going to have to be compliant with CEQA regulation and odor mitigation rules, and the rules are not even crafted. So they will.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Right.
we're
You're jumping off a cliff and building the airplane on the way down.
while you landed. Absolutely. So we're building. We're spending tens of millions of dollars to build this greenhouse with, as of right now, unfinished odor mitigation rules. So when those come, and it could be next month, it could be 2 years from now, we're going to have to adjust on the fly and make sure that our project is compliant with those rules.
Just
So
hope you're compliant, right.
yeah, so you're trying to stay ahead of it. You never want to be trying to make adjustments after the fact. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to take into consideration what are the regulation that we feel is coming down the pipe and what will be sufficient to stay ahead of it.
You guys only grow indoors? Is like everything in greenhouse?
Everything is in a greenhouse. So it's a greenhouse with supplemental light, supplemental CO2. So it is a controlled environment.
So do you grow to like, okay, so Matt and I have decided to start our own brand, and maybe we will, because now I know I can just call you up. But
Exactly.
do you grow, take me through that process of, would you grow something to my specs, to my desire of what I want? Or is it, here's the 3 pipes, whatever we grow, and this is when it's happening? And take me through that.
So we become as involved with a brand and their SKU as they want to be. So right now we contract for about 15 large brands in the state of California, anywhere from premium brands to value brands, and anywhere from very high end to value products. What we do is, when we sit down with a brand, we figure out, do you want a genetic plant, or do you just want us to grow and pick out of what we grow? Some brands say, hey, you know what? You pick them. You're the grower. I'll come at the backside and pick what I like. Some brands say, no, we know very upfront that we want to put these 5 strains into market, and maybe they're proprietary strains, maybe they're not. And so the planning process actually starts 6 months ahead of time. So there's brands that might even give us a mandate of, I want this strain and it's hard to get, and can you go and source it for me? And we're tapping breeder networks to try to get that strain. Or there are brands that say, you know what, I really want to create a mix between these 2 strains, and we go out and set out to do breeding projects with breeder partners to bring those strains to life. From that point on, we're kind of helping them to create the SKUs, the SOPs. Some brands have them ready and have been doing it for a long time. Some brands are just getting started and say, hey, can you help me with packaging? Can you help me come up with an SOP? Some brands already have distribution figured out. Some of them are asking for our help and say, hey, can you steer me in the right direction to set up the rest of my supply chain? So it really is brand to brand. We're kind of trying to meet them where they're at. And then the nice thing is that as a licensed operator, we have kind of created this path to asset-light brands that don't necessarily hold the license. So let's just say you and Matt want to launch a brand tomorrow. You don't have to go through the long process of getting a license. You can work through me as a licensed cultivator and distributor or manufacturer.
Yeah.
And get it to a licensed retail shop without having to necessarily be flower touching, but really focusing on what you're good at, which is building.
Matt, get ready. Get our logo ready.
I'll get the logo and the marketing ready to go.
Okay, and I'm going to get the packaging, and it's going to be my face, obviously. But
yeah.
So that's ahead of time. We are talking to Jesus Burolla, the CEO of the POSIBL Project, a producer, a grower in California, with a unique idea of, well, if you want to white label your brand, they will, sounds like, do whatever you want and create. It's so fascinating, like the the product development that's potential for the industry. It's almost as if it's starting, because we always wrestle with where is the industry now, fully matured, mature, a bit immature. But it sounds like on this level, there's so much opportunity for anyone to come to you and say, here's what I'm looking to create. Wow, that's hard. Create it for me, and I'll do what I'm good at, which is maybe sales, marketing, growing dispensaries, franchising, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think
go ahead.
Yeah, for someone like Dave and I, we wouldn't know what the hell we were doing in terms of growing. So we come to you. Other companies, they want to. I feel like companies want to control everything, kind of soup to nuts, and it's not necessarily the best thing for them. So the question really becomes, and this is a bit of a $64,000 question, is who do you think will win out? Is there room in the market for both? Or do you think the vertically integrated companies or the outsourcing companies are going to win at the end of the day? Or do you think it matters?
I think it's whoever, I think brands do win. And I think you could be vertically integrated and have a very weak brand. And I think you can be asset light and have a very strong brand. So I think whoever connects with the consumer and can actually fill a void of what the consumer is asking for is who will win. And, I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. I think there's room for both.
And this point, like this idea that at the end of the day, it's who connects with the customer. And that might be at the local dispensary level. You might have a thing going on, or it might be a chain of brick and mortar. And you can't dislodge that. I don't care who your brand is. At the same time, there's going to be national brands. There's going to be local brands that you can't dislodge because it resonates.
Absolutely.
And maybe you can't answer this question because it's top secret, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are you guys thinking with all your expertise? Are you thinking of creating your own brand?
Yeah. So we've been focused strictly on B2B up until this point, and really that has been the thesis behind the business. But the more and more that we've talked to our brand partners and distributions, and as somebody that is a consumer and is Latino, what we do feel is that there is a huge hole. Los Angeles is the largest Hispanic community in the United States, and today we don't see any brands really speaking to that consumer base. We are a Latino owned and operated business and feel like there's really nobody in the shelf that is speaking to us. And I think we do have a authentic way to bring that to market. I think that brand doesn't exist today because there's not really a lot of Latino owned and operated businesses in the cannabis space. We just happen to be one of them. And so we do see it going into this year, us trying to fill that gap.
Do you see that? This is interesting to me, that the lack of representation makes it harder for you to sell your brand. Do you see it percolating all the way down to the retail side?
Yeah, I do see it going down all the way. The Hispanic community is big. You look at liquor, you look at beer, and you have brands like Jose Cuervo, Corona, Dos Equis, et cetera. Right. 5 of the top 30 beer brands are Hispanic focused. And, I don't see why that should be any different in cannabis.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, interesting. And certainly opportunistic. Well, it sounds like in a year or two, you might be having a different business, might be a different conversation. You'll be saying, no, not white label. It's brand. Use your own brand.
No.
That idiot.
No, and honestly, that's the part that we struggled because we wanted to stay very true to our ethos. So we didn't start that way. And in actuality, we're partnering with some of our brand partners that understand that part. And are better at marketing, are better at sales. So we are leaning onto our partners to help us with that process, which we feel is ultimately a win-win for both sides of the partnership.
You're allowed to be opportunistic and see business opportunity.
Everyone else is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We have been chatting with Jesus Burolla, CEO of POSIBL Project. And this is who Matt and I are going to call when we start our
Matt and Dave's.
Matt and Dave's. But
we'll have to come up with a better name than that then.
I don't know that we will, but certainly get started on that logo. That's the thing that's holding us up.
Yeah, that's what's holding us up. Well, Jesus, it's been great chatting with you. Wish you a lot of success. I think you're on the right path, and we'd love to catch up with you in maybe 6 months or so to see where you guys are at.
Absolutely, would love to chat. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. And we will be right back. Business of Cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services, CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www.cashtechcurrency.com to learn more. So welcome back to the Business of Cannabis, here with Matt Cook. I'm Dave Sky, and we have enjoyed a couple of conversations, one with Emery Morrison of CampNova and Jesus Burolla, POSIBL Project. I love connecting a theme between guests, but this one is so obvious to me. You've got two ideas, concepts, focusing on brand.
Right.
And moving in that direction. So let's take one each in turn, and then we can try to maybe get our heads around what's going on with this industry and who's right and who's wrong. Right? Is everyone right, or is everyone wrong? And someone else is. Emery Morrison, CampNova, a celebrity platform for cannabis brands. What was your take on that?
Well, I think there's so many celebrities that are looking to monetize their fame in different ways. I mean, you look at people like Mike Tyson and Jay-Z and, Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg. They're all, in the space now. And, some people like, Mike Tyson, he says that cannabis has really helped him, kind of his post-fight career. Whereas I think other people are motivated just by capitalizing on the growth of the industry. And I think that brand has to be tied to how people already perceive you. I don't think someone like Celine Dion could come in with a cannabis brand and have the same success.
I might try it once.
Whereas I think... Right. Obviously, Snoop Dogg would be the exact opposite of that. He's been, promoting it since he started his career in the early 90s. So,
right.
I think that the concept of, monetizing your existing brand in a different industry, it really has to be connected to cannabis in some way.
I'm wondering, like in fashion, so obviously, and other industries, any sort of hawking of products. Using a celebrity is very effective, time-honored tradition.
Right.
This is a little different. And are people going to resonate? It's one thing to say, I resonate with this line of fashion or this perfume line because you are a beautiful person on some level, or I relate to your image. I mean, cannabis is a little. There aren't very many people who are going to have that kind of image. No. And what is that image even? Does it has to be bad boy? It has to be tough guy, or it has to be edgy, or why can't it be Celine Dion? Why can't it be wholesome?
Right.
Justin Bieber. Beeps, you're gonna get that. You're gonna buy the Beeps line of
Well, he
cannabis.
does mention he gets his weed from California in one of his latest songs. So
Okay. Oh, that's true.
maybe that's why he mentioned it. He's about
Yeah,
to
exactly. He's laying the groundwork.
a new brand. But I mean, yeah, you bring up fashion. I mean, you look at the Kardashians have capitalized enormously based on makeup lines and fashion lines, and they started out with a single retail store, and now they're worth $1 billion because the brand matched kind of the image, right?
Right.
Same with you look at singers. Their part of their image is fashion, and so I think some actors and singers, I think it lends a little bit better to them than it does to people that have I don't know, I don't want to say a squeaky clean image because that really shouldn't have anything to do with it, but I think the brand is going to resonate with people that already follow those types of people.
Yeah, our athletes going to start getting into it and famous.
Certain leagues have already kind of approved, recreational use or medicinal use. So you'll start to see that more and more. A lot of the, NBA players, for example, a few years ago, or NFL players were afraid to say anything about it.
Right. Well, they'd be suspended. Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't want to get suspended. So, but I think you'll start to see that more and more, as we get further into this industry.
Yeah, I think, and then Jesus Burolla and the POSIBL project, I think it's sort of related in this idea
It's
that
very related.
Yeah, it's all about, can you create a brand of cannabis that people resonate, and that's where you should be putting your energy. Don't worry about so cannabis as commodity, and it's really about I'm Jay-Z. Use my I'm Mike Tyson, or I'm Celine Dion, or I'm Biebs, and it isn't really the cannabis itself, because we're just enjoying. It's more about what it represents and how I think it feels, what I relate to.
Well, bringing it back to, look at Kylie Jenner, for example. Her makeup palette sold, $500 million worth in the first 6 months or something like that.
Let me jump in. This is, and it just came to me. The difference between a lot of these things is I'm wearing the brand. I'm living it. Cannabis, I don't know if it's quite the same.
It's not there yet. It will be.
Well, I want Jay-Z. Oh, so I go into a dispensary, I order it online, and now I have Jay-Z's, whatever his brand. Well, so what? How do I'm not wearing it. When I go out, they're going to go, oh, you must have used Jay-Z's, whatever. That's not true. So it's not so easy. It's not like alcohol, even, where I can drink it in where there's George Clooney's tequila, or so
I guess
challenge.
Where I was going with that is, it's not like Kylie Jenner was toiling in the background mixing different chemicals to come up with the makeup.
No, Kylie was.
You don't
know Kylie. I know
Kylie. Just like I'm sure a lot of these famous people that are getting into it, they're not cultivating it. They're not picking the buds. And
no, you're so right, and that's why I thought Burolla, they're into something. He's not the only one, but they're definitely on something. It's for those of people who are betting on it's about brand.
Yeah,
that's just a perfect way to do it, without having to enter into some vast supply chain in China, and it's right there. The opposite is I'm still like, wow, we're so early days, and is brand really going? Are people really going to resonate with a brand of cannabis on that level? Because it's a personality, as opposed to the personality of the brand itself, which would be this particular bud that has this particular experience, and people might resonate with that.
Well, and there's an example of someone that tried to use their celebrity that I won't mention, and got a white label solution, and he was selling a lifestyle, and it crashed and burned.
Right, and I think there's going to be a lot of crashing and burning.
100%.
for the on the CampNova site, and there'll be some big winners.
Yeah.
And maybe it will be, like you said, it's who's authentic.
Well, and I think
and then
that's the
Jesus
thing.
Burola's will be more market forces.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I would say, people like Tommy Chong and Snoop and people like that, I think, people will look at them as authentic. Some of the other people who I think, and especially the younger generation, they see through that stuff
Right.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And they will basically abandon a brand, and word can travel very fast these days.
It is an interesting industry indeed. We have talked to Emery Morrison of CampNova, Jesus Burolla, the POSIBL Project. As always, we've run out of time. And as always, I want to a shout out to our sponsors, Cash Tech Currency, for all your cash management needs at www.cashtechcurrency.com. So thank you, Cash Tech. Thank you, Matt Cook, as always.
Thank you, Dave,
for riding along. And next week it'll be more discussing deep dives into different aspects of this industry. For now, take care. And this is the business of cannabis. The business of cannabis is brought to you by Cash Tech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services, Cash Tech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call Cash Tech and solve the problem. Visit www.cashtechcurrency.com to learn more.
You're listening to Hayes Radio Network, Cannabis Lifestyle Radio.